Hello and welcome back on this beautiful, stormy afternoon. I had to actually go out and rescue Matthew a little bit ago. I thought he was going to blow away out there, and it's getting pretty rough. But no, welcome. It's good to be back. It's been a little bit since we've been on, but it's good to be back. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing good. It's probably been, I'd say, at least a month and a half since we
Yeah.
had a show. World is more chaotic today than it was 30 days ago. And everything seems to be
I've got
crazy.
a few things wrote down, and it says since the last show. So I'll
But
go over.
but let me add that too. The weather outside is just terrible,
Yeah,
terrible.
it's crazy.
I mean, all it does is rain. Every time it seems like
can't get no mowing done. It won't. Well, you
Yeah.
can't get to do anything.
Every time I get caught up, what happens? The rain starts to come, and it just makes it miserable.
I wrote down a few things here, and I said this is just some things that I thought about that's happened since our last live. So some of them people will understand. Some probably don't even know anything about, but that's just something to get us started. First and foremost, what I think is one of the biggest, since we've got a few people here, they may know it. The Mark Pope error has begun at UK. That happened. The Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight has been postponed. Inflation and gas prices have dropped. It's what they say anyway. A woman flashes the New York City portal that's with Dublin was the biggest story. A creepy guy was filmed with a gas nozzle in his butt while playing with himself, which was a big story, and I probably can't show that on here. Cody Rhodes ends Roman Reigns' near 3-year title reign in WWE WrestleMania. Earlier today, Joe Biden signed a bill that will stop illegals from crossing the southern border and blames the right. We have a presidential candidate that now has 34 felony charges. Morgan County Water District sinks itself into shame. And last but not least, and the most important of all, is I myself have announced and registered to run for the Morgan County School Board in District 4. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Big crowd here tonight.
Big crowd here. We got a big crowd. It's actually surprised. One thing I did forget, since somebody is not in our crowd here tonight. During the last time we've been here, Melina has been banned from live shows because she fell asleep during a live sale from here at the store a few weeks ago. She was banned from attending this show, and I could flip the camera around. She is not here. She is not in attendance.
She's a crybaby, and that she wore out.
Oh,
I
yeah.
said, well, they only have a show once every 3 months.
Well, you might as well go to sleep. So, anyway, I don't know. I'm sure you knew most of those and heard of some of them. And
I knew some of them. I hadn't heard all of them.
some of them was a little silly, but like I said, the creepy guy with the gas nozzle, I've actually got the video to that, but I don't think I can show it because I don't know. I mean, people are just crazy. So, I don't know.
Well, the introduction song says a lot. You got to put your trust and faith in God.
Mhm.
Because right now there's so much nonsense and craziness going on in the world that it's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Very.
And I also forgot about the the Palestinian Israeli protests that's all over the college campuses and in these cities and stuff. I mean, I know that the June is Pride Month, and there was a Pride festival going on and a parade somewhere over the weekend. And as they're marching down the street, they're met with Palestinian protests, and a big fight breaks out. So I mean, it's chaotic in the cities right now. It's probably not too much longer till it gets here, but it's just wild right now to think about what's going on in the world, and even here locally. Here locally is kind of crazy right now. But you heard me mention the water district a minute ago. I mean, it's been, a lot of people right now is probably looking at me and saying, "Oh my God, he went there." But no, I didn't really go anywhere because I mean, we were told at the water district and from the newspaper article to go to the PSC website and file the complaints, and that's exactly what a lot of people in Morgan County has done. So, nobody done anything wrong. Nobody's trying to start anything. So, I mean, we done exactly what they told us to do. As citizens of Morgan County and customers of their water district. So, I'm not on here trying to throw anybody under the bus or anything like that. I'm just that's I had to come up with things that's happened in the last 6 weeks or 5 weeks, whatever it's been since we've been on. So I mean, I just there's probably people right now holding their mouth thinking, "Oh my God, he said that," but it's like it's true.
Well, I mean, I think if you're going to be concerned about what's going on nationally, you got to be concerned about what's going on locally as well. And I think that's the problem. Sometimes we turn our heads on what's going on locally, and we want to talk a lot about nationally. But I don't think you're going to make changes in government, period, until you start making it from bottom up.
If you don't start on a local level, it's never going to happen on a state or national level.
I mean, you take what happened to Trump. Should everybody not be concerned? I know even people who don't like Trump, should they not be concerned? If you can do it to one, you can do it to many others. And this man has billions to fight with. What happens to one of us that doesn't?
Well, I mean,
come on, Matthew, you're being too quiet.
The Trump story is the biggest news in the world. And
probably in the last couple of years story, on honesty.
But I think I go back many episodes on this show, and I told you that Donald Trump will be arrested. Did I not tell you? I told you he'd be found guilty. I've said that he will be found guilty. Yeah. Now we've got 34 counts, 34 felony counts. Donald Trump has more felonies than the greatest gangster in the history of the United States.
Would that be Al Capone?
Al Capone had 15 felonies, and Donald Trump has 34.
I knew Trump.
But the worst part for Trump is there's not an Alcatraz for him to go to, right?
Well, let me say this: for 72 years, Donald Trump followed the legalities of the law. For 72 years, the man never had a crime brought against him. Okay, now all of a sudden he becomes president of the United States, and he is charged with 92 counts, or 92 charges have been brought against him. What I'm going to tell you about a leopard is a leopard doesn't change its spots.
That's all right.
For 72 years, if you are a law-abiding, tax-paying citizen and you do what is well within the ramifications of the law, you're not going to become a criminal overnight. Now, what I personally think is this, and this is my opinion, and take it for what it's worth. I think Donald Trump is and does pose a threat to the establishment. He's an outsider. He's not a politician. Therefore, he's not responsible, nor is he contingent to be allegiant to any one particular group.
He can't be bought. He's already got money.
He's got money. So as a result of that, he poses a threat to the establishment. And as a result of that, the establishment, in my personal opinion, has done everything in their power to try to prevent Donald Trump from being the president again. Because, as you well know, during the 4 years that Donald Trump was president, for the most part, I'm not saying America didn't have problems, because America has always had problems. It doesn't matter what president we've been under. It's not always been peaches and roses. There's been some problems. You would agree with that.
Absolutely.
But from a financial standpoint, most of the policies that were in place were America First policies. They had American citizenry's interests at heart, and people had more money in their pocket. The economy was thriving. Look at gas prices, $1.89 when the man left office. You can talk about job availability. Jobs were pretty rampant.
I can tell you that right now, there ain't a whole lot of jobs that's real. What do we call them? Ghost jobs. That are out there right now. Clickbait, yeah.
But, it is worth noting that when the verdict came down, one positive thing that came out of this is America did not riot, did not loot, did not burn any cities down.
I never seen anything get burned. No, cops never got attacked. I mean, I never seen any of that. But we could still walk down the streets and not get beat up. I mean.
But the issue I have with all of this is this. And this is I'm looking at from a legality standpoint. What is the charge that has been perpetrated by Trump? It's never been clearly identified to the public.
I have a question for you. Did you see today where Joe Biden signed in that some kind of executive order about his testimony with Robert Hurt could not be released to the public, where Robert Hertz deemed him as kind of being senile and could not stand trial. Did you see that?
I did see that.
Yeah.
Also signed an executive order
How old
too
is
that was
Biden?
going to secure the
How
southern border.
Trump's 72. How old's Biden?
Biden's probably about 80 plus years of age. I think he was 78 years of age when he was inaugurated.
Just curious, because they wouldn't allow Trump out with that reasoning, I don't think.
But when you talk about,
Is there not a conflict there for you to sign an executive order hiding testimony of yourself?
So are you saying that no one is above the law, according to what the media has portrayed?
And I would think that is unethical and a conflict.
Well, the media has portrayed that because Trump was found guilty, that no one is above the law.
Right.
Yet, okay, here you have verified, substantiated proof that the testimony of Joe Biden with special counsel Robert Hur was manipulated. It was taken out of context. It was coerced. It has been changed to a certain extent. Therefore, you can't hold Biden literally responsible because he is old and senile. Yet Trump,
he's incompetent. He can't stand trial.
But the issue
makes a lot of sense.
Okay, but the issue with the Robert Hur special counsel investigation it was about him sharing classified documents. That's what the Robert Hur investigation was about. Which Robert Hur conveyed under congressional oath that Joe Biden did in fact share classified documents with various sources. He shared it. Therefore, he has committed an act of treason, which is a felony, which is prosecutable in a court of law. He can be found guilty. However, they decided because of his age and because of his poor memory that he would not be put or subjected to trial. However, you look at Trump. Trump, on the other hand, he was not given executive immunity. And he should have, because there's things that have happened in the past. Okay, but what it does do is it opens the door up for this. Past, former, as well as current presidents can be impeached. Okay, let's think about this for a second. And like I said, I'm not trying to talk negative about the Democratic Party, but let's talk for just a second. One, first president in the history of the United States ever prosecuted and found guilty of criminal crimes is Donald Trump. 34 counts, 34 felonies brought against him. Okay, let's talk about presidents like Bill Clinton, who lied and committed the act of perjury. He lied under oath. What happened to Bill Clinton? Not a single thing. And you're going to say, well, that was years ago. Hold up a second. The case against Trump is something that happened years ago. Okay. Hillary Clinton and a member of the executive department, the Secretary of State, had a personal PC computer laptop, a government-issued laptop in her possession, and she deleted 33,000 classified emails.
Also, they bit a hard drive, right? She also bit a hard drive, so that was destroying evidence, which is a crime.
Let me give you this.
She didn't get anything.
Okay, let's go further. You've got a member of the government who was a member of the what we call the NIAID, the National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, who went before Congress yesterday.
Cried.
Dr. Anthony Fauci.
He cried.
What have I said about
what
have I said about Fauci since day one? I said Anthony Fauci is an individual that cannot be trusted. He, in a congressional interview in January, prior to him leaving office, in front of Congress, they released those files, and they substantiated with 100% convictions that Anthony Fauci lied to the American public, that he single-handedly made up the COVID restrictions of 6 feet social distancing. This was made up out of thin air, and also add to that masking kids at schools. That there were multiple recommendations that said that those were not necessary, but yet he did those under oath yesterday. Marjorie Taylor Greene, as well as several other senators, basically went at him, and he basically stumbled over his tongue multiple times. And it just goes to show you that, okay, here you got Donald Trump, who has been indicted, charges brought against him, found guilty. The problem I've got with the trial is there was before jury deliberations, the Judge Merkin, gave orders for the jury that no matter if they came to a unanimous decision, unanimous is it's got to be
all of them.
It's got to be all of them. That one, they could vote 4, 4, and 4 on the different crimes, and he would still be found.
Which is not how it's written.
It's not how it's written. It goes against the Constitution.
Well, the Supreme Court ruled on that, though, right?
Well,
it could not be done that way.
Okay, the Supreme Court ruled a week before that for a person to be found guilty of a serious offense, that it would have to be a unanimous decision. Yet the judge gave instructions for jury deliberations to be totally different. Now, what I'm going to tell you is that is cause for a mistrial, which means in the government, the way our government's set up, Mike, and this is what makes the judicial system the special branch that it is. Okay, you can be found guilty in a district court. There's two types of jurisdiction. One's called appellate, or one's called original, and the other's called appellate. Original jurisdiction is the first time that a case is heard. Typically, what happens is a decision is rendered by a jury of your peers. They're basically performing their civic duty, which is, jury duty. Okay, you don't get paid a lot. Most people don't want to do it, and not being mean. It's not that they care to do it. It's just sometimes people look at it.
I think you only get like $12 or something for the whole day, don't you?
Yeah,
and you got to miss a day of work.
Money, right? If you don't get paid for time off.
But you talk about original jurisdiction. They hear the case. A jury of your peers renders a verdict. That judge reads the verdict, and a decision is made. Right then and there, whatever that decision is, it can be appealed. And Donald Trump has the ability to take it to the appellate level, which is the U.S. Court of Appeals, or the highest court in the land, which is the Supreme Court of the United States. Now, I'll say this. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, 2 days ago spoke up in behalf of Donald Trump and basically stated that the Supreme Court needed to do their jurisdictional duties, which is intervene on part of Donald Trump because of some of the uncertainties that took place in this court case. You talk about a gag order, you can't even talk about the court case, So what I'm telling you is there are, within the ramifications of the law, some things that were not done fairly. But the media went on to say, when all this was said and done, that nobody's above the law. Well, I don't think Donald Trump is above the law. I don't think he is, and I don't think anybody's saying he is. But they've done everything in their power to try to get something on the man, and for what reason? For what reason? All he's doing is running for president. He's a political candidate. He stuck his name. He put his name out there, stuck his neck out on the line, and he's basically advocated for the American people. That's what political candidates do. Whether you like him or dislike him, in November, go to the polls and do what? Vote. If you don't like him, vote against him.
People don't want people who advocate. They want people who are nice and polite and lie to you and steal your money instead.
So you're saying that the political arena is extremely corrupt.
It's kind of like Ted Bundy had great charisma and people trusted him, and then he raped and killed a lot of women and stuff. So then you have people, we vote for people who, like if you look at Donald Trump, if you ask people something, they go, I can't stand him. He's so rude. I don't care how rude he is. Being president, he can be rude if he wants to, as long as he's doing what he needs to for the people. But I think that immediately that turns people off, and you'd rather have someone who's going to stand up there and trip over the words.
When you talk about Trump, you crucify a man that for 4 years got paid what?
Nothing.
Did not take a single dime. Every quarter, part of his check was given to a different organization. The man took not one single dime.
He was worth less money when he left office.
That's right. He didn't need the money. So my question is, you crucify him, but you glorify somebody who's been in office for 50 plus years and doesn't have a whole lot of accomplishments to their name. That's where it gets me right. Gets at me is because, and like I said, I'm not trying to talk down about anybody, but somebody's not taking money, and they're trying to do what's best by American citizens, put more money in your pocket, allow you to live a better life. But are mistakes going to be made? Yeah, there's nobody in a position of power that does not make mistakes.
Can't say that they didn't live better back then. Did you live better back when Trump was in office?
Well, I'm going to tell you that the average homeowner had $6,000 to $8,000 more dollars a year in their pocket.
Michael, did you live better?
So
not really, no.
So when you talk about from a money perspective and talk about things right now, it costs $11,000 more a year for a family of four to buy the groceries that they bought 4 years ago. $11,000 more dollars a year. And you're going to look at me and say, that's not true. Inflation is on the rise. Donald Trump.
Who's going to tell you that's not true? Somebody don't grocery shop.
Well, I'm just going to tell you that most of the people are telling you, like Mike said right now, that inflation is.
They're on TV every day saying inflation and gas prices are down.
Hold up. I'm going to tell you that in the last 3.5 years of Joe Biden being the president of the United States, there has not been 1 month where inflation has went down, with the exception of July 2022, and it stayed the same. From June to July, it stayed the same. Every other month, it has consistently and persistently went up. So when you go to the store, Mike, you and I both know who's getting hit the hardest here. It's the working class.
The working class, or what we would call the middle class, or the lower middle class. The people that are actually having to flip the bill to be able to keep.
Now, if I'm a millionaire, which I'm not, but if I'm a millionaire, or let's say I'm a billionaire, and things go up a little bit, am I utterly affected by this? No. Why? Because
you don't care about anything at that point. I mean, no matter if they raise something $20 or $30.
But I'm not a millionaire, and the number of people in this country, Mike, that are living paycheck to paycheck has went up in the last 4 years. That if they lose one paycheck, what happens?
They'll have stuff cut off.
They'll lose stuff. So that's what's happened. And I don't know what the quick fix is. My question is not necessarily to attack the problem, but to try to come up with a solution. What's the solution to this? Where do we start seeing light at the end of the tunnel? Because how many people do you know that basically will look at you and say, we can't take another 4 years of this?
We hear it every day.
Or if we have to live through this for another 4 years, I don't know if we'll make it. Because, and I know people are saying, well, gas is down. It was $1.89 when Donald Trump left office. Average gas station right now, it's about $3.47. Go to California, it's $7.11. Look at average rent for a 1, 2, or 3 bedroom apartment. It's went skyrocketed. Look at the cost of homes. The housing market itself, a house that you could normally build for $70,000 and $80,000 now costs you what? $150,000 to $200,000, and interest rates are extremely high.
To get a vehicle, a house, or anything.
And it's sad, Mike, when you know I'm right when I say this, and you can look this up, that you can buy a vehicle that let's say you purchased a vehicle, a utility type vehicle 4 or 5 years ago. You can take that back to the dealership, and they'll give you almost the value that you paid for it, if not more. So that tells you accelerating cost of goods is killing America.
Not just the cost of goods, but their disregard for the Constitution and things too. I think there's just a lot going on, not just the pricing, but we're talking about 4 more years of a disregard for Constitution. An example is something we sell in the stores, pew pews. We have a lot of ordeal about it. It's legally lawful for people to own and go through the process of owning those things, but yet we catch a lot of slack because we sell them. And so you have a Second Amendment right that covers that. you have a First Amendment right that covers free speech and stuff, but yet you're seeing people being sanctioned on stuff that they're trying to speak out about, but other sides not being sanctioned for it and stuff like that. So I mean, I think, and then like with the jury telling them that it doesn't have to be unanimous, but that's a violation.
Well, what's the point of a jury trial when the judge's instructions do not require a unanimous vote to convict? And the Supreme Court had just said a week earlier. The Supreme Court just said a week earlier that for a serious offense, it had to be a unanimous decision. And here you have the judge telling them it's okay, no matter what you disagree with on the crimes. 4, 4, and 4 is good enough for me to convict. That right there is a mistrial. That will be thrown out. When the Supreme Court gets this, and they need to intervene, as Mike Johnson said, it will be a short timer. Now, do I think Donald Trump will go to jail if the Supreme Court doesn't intervene? Yeah, I think he's going to go to jail. I'm telling you right now, I think the man will go to jail. But once he goes to jail, I think it'll be a short time before something happens and things are corrected.
Well, because people are fired up. I think you're gonna fuel more people. You had a question from the constituent about her.
But you're also seeing this, not being mean. You're seeing in New York City a rise, Mike, in the number of African American voters that are coming out in support of Donald Trump. Donald Trump got less than 6 to 7% of the African American vote in New York. Now all of a sudden he's seen a rise up to about 15 to 16 percentage points. So what's happening? There are people in America that are aligning themselves with Trump because they see that the criminal justice system is a two-tiered system, that some people are centered out, crucified, actions are taken against, and others are not. Give example. Cocaine was found where, Mike? Cocaine was found in the White House. A dead body was found at Barack Obama's house. A dead body was found at Barack Obama's house. Not a single question of investigation was taken in that. So some of these people have not been investigated, nor some of them have never been even thought about being charged.
So where are we at here in these comments? What was you talking about?
David Hinton asked you about Herdman Field. An update.
Are you still selling? Are they still selling Herdman Field? I haven't heard anything, David. I've been still attending the meetings. I haven't heard anything on it. I haven't even seen any updates in the newspaper. I will continue to follow that, and of course, we have spoke about it. If it makes it to November and somehow or another I can pull it out, I will be voting no on the selling of that. And at this time, I think it's also a good thing that we maybe come up with a petition and try to get people to sign a petition, and let people in Morgan County decide, and get their names signed on a petition to not sell Herdman Field. That's just my feeling on the matter. A lot of people may not think the same, but that's how I feel about the Herdman Field situation. Larry said, "Who would you rather have? A guy playing with adult women or a guy kissing and sniffing kids?" Nikki had an interesting one here. It says, they are saying since Trump is a convicted felon, he can't leave the United States. So that might be what knocks him out of being the president. He can't travel and meet the other countries and their leaders. And then David said, heck, let the leaders come here. The rest of the world is coming here, which is great. Jacob Thomas is here. So we definitely need to say something to Jacob. Jacob has actually got the kidney transplant. He was in the hospital for a while. There for a while I was a little worried about him, but he did come on and say, good to see you guys again. So Jacob, if you're still watching, it's good to see you again, buddy, and we're glad to have you back. Wilma, you're welcome, David. Anna said it will be the first president elected in jail, right? I'm thinking that is correct. If he's in jail, he would be the first. And
I'm not saying I don't think. I think it's going to take a while for the court proceedings to work themselves out. You just don't. Even though you've appealed this case, the sentencing is on July 11th. And imagine that.
And that's what, 3 days or
4 days?
4 days before the convention.
Yeah. Well, do you find it odd? Does anybody out there find it odd that? And I keep saying this to people. We are 5 months removed from the 2024 presidential election. Okay. When was the last time that a candidate ran for president but had not announced their running mate?
This late into
This
it.
late
Yeah.
into it. Normally you've announced a year in advance so that you and your political candidate can travel the country separately, basically present your agenda, your ideas, your philosophy for what things should go. You're meeting different organizations, whether it be labor, different workers organizations to try to arouse support. But Trump's not announced who his running mate is, and I find that awful strange.
Do you happen to know anything? Because you're on. I'm going to get Crystal's reply about the city situation, because I know you've got city here. Do you know anything about that?
I need to look at the bill.
I've been,
I don't know.
crazy enough, I've been keeping up with the county, more than the city, because I live out in the county, but I know here at the store it's city, so that's why I was asking if you might have a better answer for that more than I do, because I don't have that bill. And then Wilma said she had a question: is Hunter's judge a Democrat? Because Hunter Biden is on trial right now, or some reason or another he's in court. I mean, I don't watch enough news to know what's going on. Well, I know he's in court.
Okay, let's talk about judge. You want to talk about judges? Okay, I find it weird that the judge that was selected for Donald Trump's what they call the Trump uh, money laundering hoax, whatever it is, got selected. There were 24 judges that were to be chosen for this case. Judge Merkin was not one of the 24, but yet he was selected for not one but two of Trump's cases. Two plus the Steve Bannon case. You can look this up. But what I want to tell you is you're talking about a judge that, in my opinion, it's hard to be impartial when, if you trace back anything on this judge, you'll find out that his family members were donated generously to the Biden administration. He also was a member of an organization called Stop Trump. Stop Trump.
How's that not a conflict?
So there's a lot of things that I'm telling you make me think that if and when this goes to an appellate jurisdiction, whether it be Court of Appeals, Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, that there's no way they can't throw out this ruling of 34 felony convictions. That's my thing. And it's not that I'm saying that I think Donald Trump is this righteous individual. I would say that probably he, like everybody else, has probably done something in his past that, has,
as you'd imagine,
like most of those politicians. I'm not being mean.
My wealth is always falling out of my pocket.
But, a lot of times I think people think because Donald Trump doesn't, let's say he gets a tax reprieve. Well, if that's within the constitutional and legalities of the law, don't take it out on Donald Trump. You need to take that out on the people that established that policy. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times we blame the person rather than blaming the people that are responsible.
Right. Yeah, that don't make a lot of sense.
But Hunter Biden is on trial for, I want to say, he had possession of a handgun.
Could have been, yeah. I don't remember what it was he was on, but I know he's on trial because I've been seeing where he's talking about Jill going back and forth.
But it would surprise me a bit if the judge that was selected for that was, a strong Democratic
probably ain't
supporter.
going to be a judge that's that's anything like what Trump's had to deal with over the past.
But here's your hope, and this is the hope of every American, that the one thing that we have to have faith in is our judicial system. We have to have faith that people will do what is right by people, and that the criminal justice system is for everybody, and nobody is above the law. They can say whatever they want to about Trump. I'm just telling you right now. Give me the actual reason he was placed on trial. I want to know what it was. Because if it's some type of technicality, it would have to be tied to another felony for it to be tried for felony accounts. Would you not agree with that? And the whole time that this case was going on, Donald Trump, every time he went before the media, he let them know that, one, I do not know exactly what I've been accused of. Well, Amendment 6 of the Constitution says rights of the accused. One of those is to know the charges that are brought against you. I have to tell you what I'm charging you of. If I'm arresting you, I have to read your Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney, which is rights of the accused. You have the right to be notified of the charges that are brought against you. What are the charges against Trump? Somebody tell me what they are. Besides, what did they call it? Falsification of business records.
For checking no on the form that he was not a drug addict when he purchased a gun, is what Nora said was why he was there.
That's a no.
Now if that happens here, you don't get a gun. I guarantee you he probably got the gun. But I'm gonna get to Marjorie right here in just a second because I want everybody to see this. With the interaction that I do have the interaction, but you can go check out the interaction that she had with Fauci yesterday. This is after the Fauci thing. We'll get to that in a minute. But I saw.
Is this where Jamie Ranskin basically conveys that they're all Trump worshiping individuals?
Yeah. So I want people to see how this woman is treated on the outside. Of the area there where they're all at. But first, before we get to that, I want everybody to see I was down by the lake earlier today, and I saw an eagle. And I just wanted everybody to, I took a video of this eagle, and I want everybody to take a look at this. This is actually pretty neat. That was a cave run, but but that was a cave run. But no, I mean before I play Marjorie here, you were talking about Fauci. They had Fauci on there yesterday.
Yeah,
on trial, and he cried. At one point in time, he cried on the stand, saying that every time that he talks about something, that everybody starts that he killed Americans or that he's the reason why a lot of Americans died. And it's like, dude, you're the reason that people were locked up. You're the reason kids didn't go to school. You're the reason there was no mask. Then there was 10 masks, and she just stood up, and when it was her turn to question him, she just lit him up. She had pictures of things that he had said and tweeted and emails and stuff that basically ate him alive. And then, like you said, when she come out, she got hounded.
Well, let me intervene here and say this. America and the world suffered great losses during COVID. And it's just not the loss of life. There were a lot of people that died, Mike. A lot of people that died during the pandemic. There were a lot of people that died alone during the pandemic. Their loved ones were not able to spend quality time with them, get the opportunity to visit them. They were basically told that you could visit them from a distance. You go to a nursing home. You had a patient in the nursing home. They had to basically speak through panel glass.
Yeah, sort of like that. What you're talking about. She actually pulled up a picture that had a band that was standing in like a big glass tent like thing that were playing music. I mean, she had a lot of the pictures of what was caused during the COVID stuff that she was showing that this is what you've done. You're sitting here saying you didn't do anything besides save people. And she's saying, this is what happened.
Okay, but let me add this. During the COVID pandemic, Americans singled out Donald Trump. They claimed that Donald Trump did not take COVID very seriously and that he did not do enough. Donald Trump was reliant on the people that were at the top of the professional ladder in their respective fields. Dr. Anthony Fauci is the foremost expert for infectious diseases in the United States. if you're the president of the United States, you've got the Center for Disease, what is it, CDC, the Center for Disease and Control of Prevention Diseases. You're relying on those people. Why? That's what the cabinet is about. The cabinet for the executive office is about advising, giving strategies. You are an expert in your field. He was the expert in his field. He was the man that was looked to for recommendations on what was best to combat this. He's the one that single handedly came up with the 6 feet social distancing out of the random blue. They asked him under congressional oath yesterday, where'd you come up with this? Oh, it was a recommendation. No, it wasn't. It was a stipulation. We had to adhere to 6 feet social
If you
distancing.
go to like certain stores still, you still see markings on the floor that
They
says
still have the
stand here,
signs.
stand here. And where was we at? We was at the spillway the other day, and there's still signs at the spill, which is
We
outside.
still have X's on our floor right here.
Yeah, no, well, I think that's where you people got hurt and it was skating. But they at the spillway outside and the benches in the area there where they've got like the pictures and stuff, they still got social. If you've not been vaccinated, social distancing has to be taken into effect. And I'm like, you're standing outside. You know, I mean, it just don't make no sense.
So he's the one that came up with these recommendations that the president implemented because the strategic team that of infectious disease doctors that he relies on told him this is what to do. How are you not taking it serious if you're doing what the foremost experts in their respective fields are telling you to do?
But I'm gonna play Marjorie here. Like I said, if you haven't seen the reaction, the interaction that she had with Fauci inside the chambers, you need to go back and watch that. But this is after she left and was walking out when a reporter approached her. Let me make sure I've got sound here.
She wasn't the only congressman that basically questioned Fauci at length. There were multiple, and they attacked his credibility. Why? Because he was the one that came up with these recommendations, and they were his recommendations, and they became stipulations. Lockdowns, you talk about masking, you talk about social distancing, you know, all of those were his recommendations as the foremost expert in his respective field.
So I'm going to play Miss Marjorie here. Yes, I better put her on there first, hadn't I?
In that room? No, absolutely not. I mean, everything I said is correct. It's how the American people feel. It's what we know to be a fact. It's all the evidence has been proven true. We have Jamie Raskin in there accusing us of worshiping Trump, worshiping as a convicted felon. Well, yeah. So is George Floyd. And everybody, and you all too, the media worshipped George Floyd. Democrats worshipped George Floyd. There were riots burning down the fucking country over George Floyd. And Raskin is in there saying we worship him. Excuse me, let me correct you, and this is really important. I don't worship, I worship God. God. And Jesus is my savior. I don't worship President Trump. And I'm really sick and tired of the bullshit annex I have to deal with constantly from the Democrats. So that's what we just went through in there. And then they're sitting there, they can attack my character all day long. What's his face in there? Whoever was talking last was calling me insane. But yet we can't say, oh, they're attacking my character. Oh no, it's nonstop BS and annex. You want to know why? The Democrats don't have anything. They're responsible for the lockdowns, forced vaccinations, kids being forced to stay home, people committing suicide, and all the horrors that this country lived through during COVID. Fauci belongs in prison. He should be tried for mass murder, and he should be tried for crimes against humanity. That's how I feel after that hearing. That's how the American people feel.
And there you go. You know, there's how Marjorie feels. And she was, I mean, maybe not to everybody, but she said that's how American people feel. And I'm one of those American people. That's how I feel. Everything she said right there is exactly how I feel. And you know, if it was Trump, if it was Biden, if it was Fauci, if it was whoever was behind it, people still feel that way. You know, when you're locked down and told you can't go nowhere, you have to stand in line at Walmart because there's 25 people in the store and you got to wait till one comes out before you can go in. You know, I remember all that stuff. It was stupid. It was ignorant stuff. And so
I think she has a point too about worshiping Trump. I don't think people worship Trump. I think we all know that Trump has his flaws, but I think if people worship Trump, you would have seen riots and stuff like the other stuff happen.
I think a lot of the reason why people think Trump is worshipped is because he has a strong contingency and a strong following. 75 million people in America.
I should have played that.
In America, voted for this man. That goes a long way in saying that a large contingency of the population supported the policies that the man stood for. Now, is he perfect? No. Has he made mistakes? Yes. But so too is every man. There's nobody perfect. And as a result of that, you judge people by what? One, how it impacts you. Okay. I judge Donald Trump's presidency by how it impacted the economy. Okay. If we talk about economy right now, he's got a 17% greater efficiency rating compared to Biden with the economy. Why? All you got to do is go look at things. Look at the prices of goods. I can show you, Mike.
Which one was
it? I sent you that one. Look at that one. If that don't sum it up, I don't know what does. Energy, inflation at the same point in their presidency. Biden's 38.8% inflationary rate with energy. Gasoline, 47.8%. Donald Trump had a minus 2% at this particular point. Electricity, 29.3%. You're going to say, well, electricity, that's not important. Hey, listen, when you're
we about lost it in here a minute ago when that lightning strike hit.
Groceries, 21.1% increase. And you talk about individual goods. Eggs alone, 49.3%. That's why most
from a negative 3.6.
That's why most people now have their own chickens.
You daggone right. That's why I did. Well, I did before, but I mean,
okay. Look at milk, 15%. Chicken, 23.9%. Transportation, 32.5%. You talk about used cars. I talked about used cars a while ago. 20.9%. Apparel, 13.5%. What particular area of your life is not affected by one of those aspects?
All of them.
So therefore, at this particular point in their presidencies, you would have to give a positive ratio rating to who?
Donald Trump.
Okay, he's got a 17% percentage point lead when it comes to economy. Okay, let's talk about immigration. Look at the immigration problem. Now, most people think Donald Trump is a racist. They think he's xenophobic. He's not. He doesn't have a problem with people coming to America. He just wants people to come to America and do it what?
Legally.
Okay.
The way we all do.
Okay, here's my question, Mike. Can you get arrested in this country for hunting without a license?
Absolutely.
Can you get arrested in this country for fishing without a license? Mm-hmm. Can you get arrested in this country for crossing the border without a license?
Yeah. More than any of the other two. Yeah.
Okay. You can, but what's happening right now? Our people get arrested right now when they cross over.
Well, after today's executive order, I don't know, but supposedly he done what the MAGA Republicans would not let him do, and today he signed an order that would secure the border. Hell if I know. But I wanted everybody here, and all the viewers, I want everybody to chime in on this. ABC News is reporting that 50% of Americans think Donald Trump should suspend his campaign in the light of the verdict. So 50% of America is what they're reporting.
That is not true.
That is the dumbest thing. The man raised what?
$52.8 million
in 24 hours.
And his approval rating went up 6 percentage points.
And that's not from big donors. That was just some small donors. That was just like regular people saying, hell, here's you $100 or something.
And there are people.
There was some bigger ones, but.
And there are people in America right now, Mike, that are saying this. This is the first time I'll be voting for a felon to go into the White House.
There was people.
There's a sheriff out in California that said that he has fought 30 years to try to ensure security, safety, and efficiency as with regards to the law. But in California, Gavin Newsom and the state legislature have made it easier for criminals to get out of jail. They've made it easier for illegal aliens to come across the border, and basically we're fitting the bill for them. I'll give you a new law. Let me give you a new law here. I wrote down some new laws. Here's one. In Maine, in the state of Maine, see if I'm right here. In the state of Maine, Maine just built new rent-free apartments for immigrants paid for by state taxpayers. Maine did. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu wants to give 11-year-olds and illegal immigrants voting rights on the city budget. Well, I'm going to give you a new law right now. Here's a new law. House Oversight Committee and James Comer, one of our representatives from the state of Kentucky,
good guy, I met him
out of District 1, has proposed a law that would only count American citizens in the U.S. Census conducted every 10 years. U.S. citizens.
Should be.
Why?
I like
right
that.
now it's citizens, aliens, and illegal aliens that are counted in that. Well, why do you think there's a mass number of illegal immigrants going to sanctuary democratically run cities? It's going to change representation within the House of Representatives. It means that control over the lawmaking process will be run by the Democrats. That's what they're doing. And I don't, like I said, I mean, when you got cities that are fitting the bill for these people, I'll give you another one. 1 out of every 5 New York City hotels is now an immigrant shelter. 1 out of every 5. Approximately 16,532 hotel rooms. 65,000 illegal aliens are being sheltered, not only in hotels, but also in tent dormitories and other shelters. This constitutes $10 billion over the next 3 fiscal years for the city of New York and does not include the cost of food, health, electric, and water. That is for housing alone. $10 billion. So you tell me what's going on in this country.
Well, you do know Biden graduated college, number 3 in his class, right?
I didn't know that.
Well, right here it is. He was 3rd in his class, but when the facts was checked, it was 76th out of 85. But he stands on television and say he graduated 3rd. There he is, little young. Well, one of the little Joes, that we see. I mean, I don't know if it's the original one or not, but who knows anymore. Speaking of Joe, while we're trying to throw a few things out, look at this picture. Jill, the babysitter. There's Beau Biden, and there's Hunter Biden. She was a little young thing, and guess whose lap she's sitting on, and she's the babysitter. Creepy Joe. It's kind of odd how that happened, ain't it? So
I want to say that I read something where there was a lot of conspiracy.
Well, that's us.
Okay, there was a lot of conspiracy with regards to Ashley Biden's diary. I want to say that there was a woman in Florida that got sentenced to a year for having stolen that diary, which substantiates that the diary existed. It existed. Yet the media tried to say that the diary didn't what?
Guys, I need you to brace yourself for this next picture. It's a little disturbing to some, not to all, but do brace yourself, so I warn you ahead of time. Matthew has recently purchased this poster and has it hanging in his house. All right, I can't do nothing. I can't do it anymore.
Well, I'm glad you brought that portrait up with Nancy Pelosi. I was talking about people. A male prostitute was found in the house of Paul Pelosi. Did he get tried for that?
Nope.
He supposedly took a hammer and what?
Beat him with it.
I mean, it just.
But how big is the poster? I guess I need to know. Matthew's got that's actual the poster, but it's bigger in person.
There's no saying in society that says this: the more things change, the more they stay the same. Hold up, the more things change in Washington, the more they stay the same. They do. They stay the same.
You're right. Well, it's the same here too. I don't know if David's still on here or not, but he was talking about local stuff. I mean, it's the same way here too. The more it changes, the more it stays the same. And I mean, that's what we're trying to do is make sure we can bring change to that. What is some of this other stuff here that we've got?
We're talking about Fauci, and I brought this up. Most people don't know this, that it was reported that the NIH scientists made $710 million in royalties from drug makers. Private pharmaceutical companies paid these scientists, and a fact that they tried to hide. Once again, everybody said if you mentioned anything about it, you were a
Conspiracy.
Right here it is, the New York
Well, you've
Post.
been called that. Well, I get it too, but there's been people tell me Matthew's conspiracy theorist, and I'm like, okay, sure, I believe the same things he does, and probably not as long as you have because you're about 2 or 3 years older than I am.
Couple.
But for a long period of time, I've believed in a lot of these things and researched these things way before we ever started doing it. Before I got out of high school, so there wasn't no programs like this then. We had to go in front of a TV station camera to be able to do it back then. But that's why I say we're the conspiracy realist now, because just like you said at the beginning, a lot of these things that were said that you had said in the past are starting to happen. They're all, it might have not have happened back then, but it's happening.
Yeah.
So it's like, just because you think, well, hey, some people probably think, oh, Matthew said it was going to happen in the next little bit, but it happens a little bit later, but it still happens. I mean, and it's not like predicting the world's going to end because we don't know, when that possibly will be. But people just throwing throw silly stuff out there. You know that. But
I think a lot of people think, Mike, that me and you think COVID was something that just was a hoax. I think there was something. I don't know what it was. I don't know if you call it.
Well,
COVID.
They're still talking about having.
I don't know if you call it COVID
variants or whatever. They're still talking about variants.
Do you call it COVID? Do you call it the flu? Do you call it pneumonia? There's a lot of things that cause people to die. It was something that caused people to die.
There was.
But here's my thing. If you've got people in powerful positions that control the regulations and they impose restrictions on you that cause more bad than good, who's responsible? Okay, we're going to hold Donald Trump responsible for something that happened 10 years ago. At what point does executive immunity go out the door? Well, they've set precedent. Former presidents, people in the cabinet can now be held liable for actions that were undertaken during former administrations. You could put any one of the last 10 presidents probably on trial for something that's taken place during their administration, and there could probably be wrongdoing.
Over the weekend on Fox and Friends, Donald Trump was on there, and he says that he will declassify the files of 9/11, JFK, and Jeffrey Epstein if elected president. All conspiracies will be proven true, is what he said on that program. Donald Trump on Fox and Friends.
Well, there's another thing. You talked about, okay, you've got Donald Trump, who is having been found guilty in a New York court of 34 counts of felony. We know the Epstein list existed. We've yet to bring one person to trial.
We're not going to release it.
Or actually investigate anything on that Epstein list. We know it's a substantiated list.
Trying to see what else we've got here.
There's probably good reason why they don't want that list to come out.
They don't want that list to come out because there's probably names on that list that people wouldn't expect. And
it would be done. All their cards that they hold on each other would be forefront. It would be transparent. People would see that. One way you keep people controlling and voting the way you want them to is you have aces in your hole. Well, if a list comes out that announces who everybody is that's been on Epstein Island, that's been trafficking children and stuff like that, I mean, what else? You can't hold anything on them. They're already going to be seen for what they are.
I agree with you 100%. I agree. But what's sad is they've substantiated that black log exists. Ghislaine Maxwell is behind bars serving 20 years in federal prison for having for having trafficked who?
Children.
Okay, we know children, but to who? But to who? To me, you would think that her crime is a crime, but the people that actually solicit the services of a child
are still walking free.
Are walking free.
Exactly.
Okay, let me give you a new law. Look this up. Louisiana governor just signed into law yesterday a new law that says anybody convicted of child pedophilia in the state of Louisiana will be surgically castrated.
Amen.
Well, do you know what that law number? What was?
Amen on that.
Do you have like a name or a number or whatever it was?
I do not. I do not have a number, but I'm telling you, it was signed by the governor of the state of Louisiana. It allows judges to sentence convicted child rapists to surgical castration.
I guarantee that makes people think twice about abusing children and.
But you know that Epstein list. That's not new. That's something that's been debated for what?
How long's he been dead?
Probably 2 to 3 years. And here they substantiated the list. They put Ghislaine Maxwell on trial. She was potentially facing 77 years in prison, and she ended up getting her sentence reduced, and she's serving about 20 years. But the thing is, she's went to jail for trafficking children. To who? They can't substantiate one person that she trafficked children to. That list has not yet been made available to the public. Why?
Right here, I don't know if you can see it, but right here it is. Overwhelmingly passed the state legislature on Monday. Judges order surgical castration for defendants convicted of certain aggravated sex crimes such as rape and against children under 13. And then come down here, blah, blah, blah. And here's AP News, here's The Guardians, here's CBS News, here's all kinds of Washington Post. So, I mean, right there you go. All of these conspiracy theorist believers that say that, you know, that's what this man is. Well, when you hear him say, look it up, we look it up. Now, I've got the program that I'll bring it to you right to your face. So, do you think Kentucky will bring a law like that? Probably not. But I think Florida, seemed like I remember Florida had something like that. I can't remember what it was, but Florida had came out with a law similar to that with pedophiles and stuff. So,
you know, I talked about on here a couple months ago. I told you TikTok was going to be banned, and everybody looked at me like I was crazy. The House of Representatives passed the bill to ban TikTok. In the last week, Senate voted to ban TikTok unless the company owner, and it's called ByteDance, divests the company, breaks it up. If they don't break it up, they got to sell it. And if they sell it, it wouldn't surprise me if I know who buys it.
Hopefully Elon Musk.
Elon Musk will probably buy it.
yep.
And if he buys it, guess what? You'll probably have a different algorithm in the United States that's delivered. It'll be less nonsense and more reality.
Oh, man. Speaking of Musk, so, oh, man. Trump just said that Biden's executive order will make the situation at the border worse. Why? Yeah, I mean, of course he's going to, what'd you say, 5 months? We're 5 months away from election time. Of course he's going to go on TV and say, oh, it's them doing it. You know, I'm going to try to secure the border now. He's going to do everything he can. I mean, I don't think it'll happen, but don't be shocked if you don't see $2.50 gas before November. Moorhead, $2.89. $2.89 in Moorhead and down on the interstate side of Moorhead, not down here with Wendy's and stuff, but the interstate side. Over the weekend, it was $2.89, which is the cheapest gas I've seen. I drove all the way to Ohio and back, come down the interstates, never seen gas anywhere that cheap. So, you know, but the president don't have nothing to do with gas prices. You know, he don't control that.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me that within the next 5 months, if you see Biden try to fulfill a lot of the promises that he made early on in his presidency, to try to assure people that he's going to be trustworthy. Good example of that is, I don't know if people are aware of this, Mike. He just alleviated another $7.7 billion worth of student debt, even after the Supreme Court stated what? He could not do that. $7.7 billion worth. The Supreme Court tried to block me from relieving student debt, but they didn't stop me. No one is above the law. Okay, I thought the Supreme Court was the ultimate authoritarian, that whatever law they make is the final.
So what's he trying to be? Is it dictator or something? I mean, is he acting like there's no rules?
Well, what he needs to say is this: I'm not alleviating debt. I'm just shifting the responsibility from those that incurred it to the taxpayers of America. That's what he needs to say. Because do you think that $7.7 billion is going to just be simply wiped away?
No.
Somebody's going to have to fit the bill for that.
It won't be no different than those stimulus checks that we all got a couple of years ago, if you remember. Everybody's like, oh, it's free money. It's free money.
We're 33.
I wish I still had that chart. What's that right there? Is that's
that's
okay?
Inflationary chart.
Well, I mean, I'll just, because that's where I was going to go with some of the inflation stuff, so I'll use this one. Since that, look at inflation. Look at that food chart that we had a minute ago that brought up here. Everything has increased since what the heck? I'm like Joe here. I can't remember.
Pandemic?
Since the pandemic and the stimulus checks. I'm worse than Joe here. I'm stumbling all over the place. Need to read my teleprompter up there. But I mean,
well, that right there shows you. Okay, the picture you've got up right now. I got a buddy. I saw somebody posting something about Jimmy Carter being a respectable president. It was taking a shot at Donald Trump. Okay, well, hold up. What I'm going to look at you and tell you is, look at his inflationary rate, 37.8%. How'd you like to have lived in the late 70s, early 80s when Jimmy Carter was peanut farmers having to refer to the government for subsistence, try to get by? Well, guess what? We're not far from that, my friend.
No. Second place. Since the Carter presidency, second place behind him is the current guy.
But look back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The last 8 presidents, look at the lowest inflationary rate.
Mm-hmm. The worst guy, the convicted felon. The felon. I mean, you see Reagan and H.W., were the only ones that had double digits. Which I would imagine, coming out of Carter here in 34, Reagan probably didn't have. That's awesome compared to where Carter was. So he inherited.
He had to reduce it reduce it very quick with Reaganomics. Yeah. Reagan's one of the better presidents we've had in the last 30, 40 years. People lived better during that time. It was during the height of the Soviet Communist Cold War. You had that going on. The Berlin Wall fell in 1989. That was actually during the administration of George H.W. Bush. Yeah. But, a lot of the things were in place. But look where you're going here. 37.8, and it takes 3 presidents to get it down.
Yeah,
because
below 10.
They had probably policies in place to address it. But people probably look at that and say, well, Ronald Reagan was a bad president, 18.5. Look at where we were. It's almost a 20% inflationary drop.
Yeah.
Over an 8-year period.
And then you go here to 9.3. Monica had a lot to do with that. Monica, some of her late night trips to the Oval Office. But
the hits just keep on going.
Yeah, well, oh man, it's so much fun. I miss doing this. Every 3 months, this ain't a cutting it.
Are you aware of this? Double check me to fact check me. Are you aware that a lot of people don't know this? You know who Riley Gaines is?
Mm-hmm.
Spoke out adamantly. College athletics, female athletic or female swimmer who basically spoke out.
Was she at Kentucky?
Yeah, she's University of Kentucky.
That's right. I knew she was. I knew there was some Kentucky ties.
She announced. I want to say it was about a week ago. She announced that the Biden administration had undertaken changes to Title IX Are you aware of this? Title IX no longer exists as we know it. It's been abolished. Title IX now is sex equals gender identity. Men can take academic and athletic scholarships from women. Men now have full, and I mean full access to bathrooms, locker rooms, etc. Men can be housed with women. Student and faculty members must comply with the regulatory desires of certain pronouns.
It makes my blood boil.
And ignoring these guidelines can result in harassment charges. Was I right about Title IX?
Especially
See,
anybody
most
that's got
people-
daughters should be worried to death about something
And most
like
people
this.
don't even know that this happened. It was kind of like swept under the rug.
She says it's the most anti-woman pursuit of the Biden administration.
You know, I've got two daughters that participate in college athletics.
Yep.
And that's very alarming, very concerning. And like I said, I don't personally have anything against anybody. I don't want people to think that I'm trying to judge people for what they are, what they identify as.
There's a physical
That's I got no problem with that. You do what you want to do. You be you, I be me. But when it has the ability to take away academic and athletic funding for women,
like they can look at your daughters and take their scholarships
Okay.
away because some dude wants to put a wig on and run around. You know, I mean, that's just ridiculous.
I found that alarming when I read that because I thought there is no way that this passed. Title IX was placed in to ensure that there was equity for women's sports.
Right.
Yes. And because you and I both know, and I don't mean this being mean, but you look at it this year, okay? Typically, male sports will get generate more following, with the exception of the NCAA women's tournament this year, Mike. It was followed more rampantly than the men's tournament was, simply because of Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, she's still in the news now because she's getting beat half to death in the WNBA. Like she's getting ran over and pushed around and stuff in there now. And as you would imagine, it's white privilege is what they're saying. The only reason because she's got all this, and it's like,
well, you know, she does. I will say this. There are some advantageous things to her being on your team. One, she is the highest paid female athlete in the WNBA.
And she's making $20 million, and someone that's been there 10 years is making $100,000.
And I can understand where the seniority within the league would say, that's not fair. You know, but you know what I'm going to tell you about life? Life's not fair. You know, there are people that are in my particular field that make more money than me, that have less degrees than me. Is that fair?
I will tell you that I know right now that there was a determination made on bus drivers that drive in this county right here that if they have 20 years of service, they ain't making much more than what somebody who just
started. If you just started today, yeah.
But
I think it's like $2 or $3.
But you and I both know this. Life's not fair. And Caitlin Clark's team is getting the red carpet royal treatment. They get private escorts. They get the best of the best because she's endorsed by Nike, and I want to say she's endorsed by somebody else that pays her big money. So her teammates are getting that, but I think a league looks at it like, you know, who's this young girl coming in here infringing on us? You know, she's part of our establishment. She's not the establishment. And so what's happening is, you know, every time she goes out on the court, you know, things happen. They take shots at her. She's getting physically beat to death.
She's getting physically beat. I mean, eventually, the only thing I can figure is she's going to have to stand up and kind of give it back a little bit.
But here's what I'm going to tell you, Mike. Here's how things have changed. Okay, if she is the money-making object for that team and that organization, let's say that she was Michael Jordan, and she is the equivalency as far as notoriety. MJ's probably one of the better players to ever play in the NBA.
Not one.
Okay.
Okay.
It's debatable, and like I said, people throw that.
We'll have that argument later on.
But if Michael Jordan's playing, and Michael Jordan goes up to shoot,
I thought Larry Jividan was a good one myself.
If somebody fouls Michael Jordan pretty hard, you don't have to worry about Michael Jordan standing up for himself. Every one of his teammates
they're going to be right behind
at some point,
he's going to be coming at you too.
Yeah,
but there's going to be Rodman and all the rest of them going to be coming at you right with him. But
that's why I keep saying this. We had this conversation a couple of days ago, me and some guys, and I told them, I said, there's going to come a point where the people on her team are going to have to man up and say, you know what? She is the reason we're getting all this. If we want to continue to do this, we've got to protect our asset. Would you not agree?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
I was hollering at my phone the other day at her, I seen that girl run over and I'm like, just get up, get in her face, push her back a little bit. Let them know that you're not just, like you said, some young girl that just came in here and you're going to let them run all over you.
But look where women's sports is today. Imagine where it was 50 years ago in the early 70s. Where was it? Pretty much non-existent. People didn't consider women's sports to be anything of validity. Would you agree with that? No. So now women have come a long way, and for the Biden administration to basically abolish Title IX says that they don't really value women at all. I mean, you have to agree with that because sex equals gender identity. That's basically what this is about. And I'm not saying that people that identify as different things don't deserve the right to be treated fairly. They do. I don't judge people. You be what you want to be. But, it shouldn't infringe upon the academic and athletic scholarship of others. It shouldn't.
Our old buddy that I played a video for him threatening people, a couple of months ago at one of our lives, I played a video. He's back, or I'm probably just cost myself my show, but she's back. Whatever the hell it is back. So I'm going to play the video.
So I'm the one who went viral back in March of 2023 in a viral video that I made where I was a call to action or call to arms. Go out, buy a gun. If you try to stop me from going into a woman's bathroom, be the last mistake you ever make. Yeah, I'm that person, and I stand by every fucking word I've ever said. The fact that I have to explain now, here we are a year later, explain why I made that video and just how many fucking stupid people there are in my comment section and in my DMs saying you threatened women and children. Nowhere in that video did I threaten women and children. A broken fucking record. I made that video in response to somebody else who was making unaliving statements or unaliving promises to another trans femme on this app. Yeah, I took the initiative and stood up to that motherfucker. And what I got in response to that was a lot of people hating me for no reason whatsoever, getting my name defamed and slandered in news articles. I've even had famous people mention me. It is what it is. I mean, they're going to get theirs. I'm going to get a paycheck at the end of this, so it's all good. People calling me a pedo, as long as I can find out who you are and where you live, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get, you're going to get a knock on your door for that. Calling me a pedo because I am a woman and I use the women's restroom and I use women's locker room. No one has ever fucking stopped me. No one. No one will ever fucking stop me. Chaya Rat Chick, you fucking chia pet. Fucking Tim Pool with his fucking receding hairline, Beanie Boy, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Steven Crowder, all of those fucking chuckle fucks. They've all got something to fucking hide. Me, I don't have nothing to fucking hide. Everything that everybody's ever, exposed about me, I don't fucking care. I wouldn't, if I wanted to be secretive, I wouldn't have put anything out there on the internet. That's the way it is. I don't fucking care. But if you're going to slander and defame my character and my name, then you're going to fucking owe me a fucking check in the long run. And I'm going to get that fucking check.
Well, anyway, I don't know what your name is, and I don't care who you are. You go in a bathroom with my daughter, one of my stepdaughters, or my woman right there, I will defame your name. I promise you that, old boy. And you are a boy. You are a man. You're not a woman. Sit right there all you want. But you will be defamed. Send me my check. Anyway.
Who is that guy?
I don't know. He says he's famous, but all I know is I
Is
played
he a YouTuber or
I played a
TikTok?
video of him. Well,
I
obviously
remember his
in
face.
March of
That's been a
last
long
year.
time ago.
In March of last year, where he basically said that nobody would stop him from being in the girls' bathroom with little girls, no matter what. He's going to go. And as you hear him right there, Anna said it's Colt. Colt could stop something. Oh, okay. I get what she's. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know what she's saying, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, go for it, old boy. I mean, you. I ain't got nothing to give you. I'm
Well,
as broke as a joke, so you can sue all you want to, but you walk into the bathroom, you will be
there,
defamed.
there's a simple solution to all this, and the simple solution is in most facilities to create a bathroom that is
Single use.
single use. It's the easiest way.
Which a lot of places have went to.
They went to that, and that's basically tried to solve the problem.
Right.
I mean, as I said, there's a solution. There's a solution to everything. Rather than look at hate and try to create discriminatory practices, look for a solution for it. You know,
why did they not come up with a class for transgender? For me, if they're going to do a class for the Title IX stuff, separated boys and girls, and that's because there's a physical difference. I don't care. I've trained with. I've trained. My sister's a trainer. I've seen her train guys. I've seen her train girls. Guys have muscle and they have chromosomes and stuff that create different things for them than what women. You all can build muscle very easy. You can also lose weight very easy. It's just in your DNA. It's in your DNA.
I'm waiting to build my muscle.
No.
What will happen to this one?
Even if you train, are not going to be able
we must
to
be going to the wrong trainers.
It's just not fair. It's not fair. So your separation of Title IX to give women equality and the ability to win something that would not have been fair had they played with men. And it would have been dangerous.
And it's not saying, and I'll be the first to tell you that there are some women that have superior abilities and talent and skill and work ethic that can far exceed that of a lot of men. But there's probably going to be somebody out there somewhere that probably would exceed that.
Your DNA is going to give you an advantage. So my thing is that if you want to,
because I don't want to look at,
if you want to be a man and you want to be a woman, you say you're transforming into a woman. Why can't you just do a class for those type of people?
You're a man and you want. No, if you're a man and you want to be a woman, you need to go have Jimmy removed.
But even if he removes that, he'll still have testosterone.
Well, he still will, but at least he ain't going to be with little girls. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no,
I'm like Matthew. I don't care what you do with your life or how you want to dress, who you want to be. I'm just, when you're like this idiot and you're on here saying nobody's going to stop me. If Olivia goes into a bathroom, she's going to be 3 years old. He's going to be in there with her and her trying to. That's what I'm saying. He's basically saying he's going to be in there with these little kids, even little girls up to 10, 12 years old, that are still, what you don't want to see grown men in the bathrooms with. People's giving Sleepy Joe heck because he took showers with his 12-year-old daughter, which says they should.
For an example, we saw Matthew's daughter. We've seen her training
numerous
at the center,
numerous times,
running her guts out, practicing, working hard.
Well, this guy here, they ain't gonna definitely be running against her. So you have he couldn't run nowhere.
But go run a competition that's supposed to be women, which have the same capability if they put the same amount of time and effort into training, right? Is it fair for a man who can't compete in his own class to then decide he's going to run against women because he has a physical advantage?
What is it?
Swimmer.
Leah Thompson.
Is it fair?
Leah Thomas.
Yeah. Finished like 280th or something out of 300 people with men, and then decides he's going to grow hair and become a woman and becomes the greatest women's swimmer in the world. And it's you couldn't compete with men, so you come over here and beat the women because you're 6'9", probably.
Fair to those women like Riley Gates and them who have.
That's why she spoke out.
It's not.
That's why she filed lawsuit, and that's why she won a lawsuit against the NCAA. But yet, here you go, another good example of something that was put in place to ensure that certain protections were in place for a gender. Now they're under attack. And as a result of that, I didn't tell you anything that Nobody else would tell you. I just told you that most people probably didn't even know that it happened. I was surprised when I read it. I was like, goodness gracious, they've snuck this in under people's noses and people don't even know it's happening. So there are going to be state educational boards that will have to come up with regulations to determine discriminatory practices. So
I think it goes to show too that you've seen them march and carry on about women's rights and all this when it pertains to abortion and things like that, but yet they do stuff like this that doesn't show at all that they are concerned about women's rights. I mean, it's to me, it's you take 2 steps forward in one direction on one thing, but then you go backwards on another thing. I mean, I don't. It's just whatever's on their agenda. They're not for women's rights, and people have been saying that. No one looks at it, but this Title IX thing should show its evidence.
But
It's
how
not
many?
conspiracy.
But
it's
how
evidence.
many?
What year was it? Women.
72.
Okay.
I want to say 1972, 73.
So
Title
all
IX.
those years, women worked so hard to get everything that they worked for. And they do have equal rights. I don't. If there's some out here that hollers, women don't have the same. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You can do anything that a man can do.
And some women can do it better.
And you can do it better, probably a lot more better than something.
Well, in all honesty, we have.
But now what he's
saying
saying,
don't have. If you have a woman-owned business, you can qualify as long as the woman owns 51% and her partner owns 49%. You can have women. There's grants and stuff for women-owned businesses and stuff that you or Matthew would not qualify for.
I'm sitting here looking like, how much percent are you?
I'm 50% right now.
This is bullcrap. You need the other 1%. So, you need the other.
I need to talk to Mike about that.
You need the other 1%.
There are grants and stuff to help those kind.
Well, I understand that. I don't have a problem with that. But what I'm saying is, you got somebody like this crazy thing coming in here saying, "I'm suing you because you ain't going to let me go in the bathroom and put my makeup on with you." Well, you don't want to be on there with that creepy.
The reason I don't have a problem with what you're saying is because traditionally, women-run businesses have been restrained to a certain extent. They couldn't get ahead. So the government took the initiative to put policies in place to ensure that these businesses could be successful that are run by women.
And there's not a problem with that. Woman, though, I feel like that's all ran out. The same thing with affirmative action and stuff like that. Tell me where we all don't have equality. I can start a business. Any woman can start a business. We can all start businesses. I think that at the time it was given, I think that it was important to get that step ahead.
So you basically think today we've come to the point where all of these provisions that are in place to benefit people should be eliminated because everybody has the accessibility to be whatever they want and there's no restraints holding them back.
Right.
But illegal immigrants I can tell you, while we're talking about females, running businesses or owning businesses, you will see it inside this store when men that are not regulars come in here and see that she runs a gun shop. Look at her differently. I mean, so you do see that. They're like, she don't know nothing about no. They'll come to me and ask the question about gunpowder or something because they're just like, wow, that's a pretty girl sitting over there. She's got a little makeup on, spilt pop everywhere. She's not. She's not knowing what. She's just here. She's just here.
That's true.
And that is a true story. I mean,
because of the industry.
Because they'll come to me if it's a gun question, if it's an ammo question. And sometimes I know, sometimes I don't. I have to look at her and say, well, what do you think? And then they kind of think, well, I ain't buying anything here because she don't know anything. But if she sewed flowers and I don't know.
So you take
teddy bears? Yeah, and now if you had an Avon store in here or something like that, you would be the greatest thing. They'd come in here and you'd be just like, oh, well, now, this woman don't care.
I will tell you, when we started the store in 2015, I did vow, and that's something that women are going to have to vow, especially if it's a man-dominated industry.
Well, when it comes to guns and ammo, they don't expect women, because you don't see a lot. Well, you do now. You see more women hunting and in the outdoors than what you did 15, 20 years ago. I mean, there's a lot more women getting involved in the when it comes to hunting and fishing.
Who got a buck with a bow? Me. Might have been a small one, but I got one. But I'm just saying.
Did you get one?
Not with the bow.
But now, if they're regular customers, they'll call, they'll message, they'll ask, and they'll take gun class with me and things like that. But there was a battle. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that we have moved past it. That it's available. It's available to us, right? Not saying that you won't have to work a little harder to prove it, especially if it's a man-dominated industry like welding or something like that. You're probably gonna have to prove that you know.
And I'm sure there's women
but it doesn't mean that you're not capable.
Right.
And I'm sure there's women out here that can outweld any guy. You know, I'm guaranteed there's women out here that can weld just as good as any guy can, or girls.
There are women out here that can outshoot men. So.
For what? In what sport?
Gun shooting, anything like pistol, rifle.
So you're talking about me?
No.
Because I'm looking at you like, I remember the tree limb that you blew all to pieces about when you were shooting at targets. Am I going to say anything back? Because I shot the other side of it. But so, ain't neither one of us was shooting too good there. But
no, I'm not saying I can outshoot you. I'm just saying there are women who can outshoot men.
Melina says that Mark said that he knows that you know your stuff and he knows he's bought enough. And Mark is one of those people, that knows if he asks you a question about something, he about knows you. You'll find out the answer if you don't know it. Yeah, right. But having some big bully man come in here dressed in makeup and a dress and looking at you and say, I'm a woman and I'm going to push you out the door because you're a woman, but I'm a different something.
Thankfully, we have single-use bathrooms here, but if we had men and women bathrooms, I would not be comfortable with someone going into a bathroom with. I can tell you this: in multi-use bathrooms, when I had small children, I was very. I mean, those stalls are not very big, but most of the time you took your kids in with you because you just have to be careful. You just don't know.
And I agree with you. There should be single use. Is that what it's called? Single bathrooms.
Kind of. What they call it? Unisex? Is it a
unisex bathroom? Or both. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
And that's what's happening in a lot of these newer buildings that are being, constructed. That's one of the ways that you can simplify that problem.
This though, in a school system, or like I worked in the school system, and then I also worked in juvenile delinquency. I can see single-use bathrooms presenting a huge, huge issue with people going in there and doing things they shouldn't do. So the benefit of having a multi-use bathroom is anyone can come into the common area. So if you're smoking or you're having sex or you're doing things, fighting, then...
I'm not saying there's not negatives that go with it, but it will eliminate the issue of
men entering women
and people being discriminatory
and
towards one another.
That our the wings of the high school here, have five single use per wing. So they are, and then up near the cafeteria they have the big main
community
bathroom. The community, yeah. So I agree with that. There could be issues, with the smoking and different stuff like that, but you're
going to have battles to fight no matter what.
Yeah, it don't matter. It don't matter if you had a bathroom.
I worked with delinquents, so I always think of stuff.
It don't matter if they had porta potties, and you had to get in them. They're still going to do stuff in porta potty.
Candle City, 4 people can fit in that. I don't know how. It's just the regular.
You're not gonna stop no issues with bathrooms. Like the craziness about with all the people hollering and going on who's going to the bathrooms or whatever. If you've got it, like Matthew said, a unisex bathroom, just if you're man or woman, you go in, you lock the door, and do your business.
I guess in a system like that, you would have to have a monitor. Somebody's sitting there making sure only one person goes in. Check the bathroom when they leave. It smells like smoke or marijuana or whatever needles in there, then you can bust them that way, I guess. I think that unisex would probably solve some of the stuff that we're talking about as far as, like you said, to keep from discrimination happening and also keep things from happening that shouldn't be happening.
Kitchen. So, and you know who that is. As soon as she said kitchen, you know who that is. But I'm not going to be mean. She locks herself in freezers.
Wanda. I know who you're talking about.
She must have been hot. Must have been hot in the school that day or something. I don't know what was going on, but
Wanda's my girl.
But
she loves you too.
But it just, as I said, and I keep reiterating this every time we have a program, some of the things that happen that kind of fly under the radar, people just don't know about. They don't have a clue.
Well, that's just like when the Trump trial, the verdict came down the other day, and that was the biggest story. You know, all the people that don't even like him. Oh, I'm voting for him now, this and that. I told Dad the next morning, I said, here's the thing. That's the biggest thing going on in America right now. Well, you even mentioned probably the world right now. Somewhere behind the scenes, it's a cover-up.
Oh, it's a
for
distraction.
something. It's a distraction. That's what I'm looking for. It's a distraction for something that's happening behind the scenes. And everybody's got their attention over here looking at the Trump trial while something's happening over here in another state or somewhere else. And there's something going to happen. Something's going to come out somewhere else. You know, like we've noticed that Hunter Biden's went to court this week. Seemed like there was somebody else in court. Can't remember who that. Well, Fauci and all that. You know, didn't really pay a lot of attention to that stuff until, you know, they hit the news airways. Just saw on here just moments ago that Ukraine has bombed Russia. You know, just a few hours ago. I mean, that's just started there. So, I mean, there's some cover-up things.
They are poking the bear.
You know, starting, what is Wanda saying here? Don't like freezers.
There was another thing I saw. You was talking about Ukraine. I saw something. Look this up, Deb, if you can. I want to say that the United States did something with selective service. Used to
18 to 24.
You have to register.
I thought it was you registered as soon as you turned 8 for all males.
Okay,
all males had to turn at 18 had to register.
Well, I think they automated it.
But the thing I saw,
they did something with it. I don't know what they did with it. It was
something to do with it. It was like 18 to 24-year-old. Something other. I don't know. I saw something about it the other day too, and I'm thinking 18 to 24.
It says federal law requires nearly all male, I don't know what that means, nearly all male U.S. citizens and male immigrants 18 through 25 register with Selective Service.
But see, I don't understand it, because even when I turned 18, it was the law that males who turned 18 had to register for Selective Service. That was the law.
It could be a felony if you don't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's the law. So what are they trying to do?
I don't know, unless it's these immigrants that they've allowed in that they
like the day I turned 18, I can remember having to fill that little form out, and I'm like, I don't like this, because we were in war. You know, just a few years prior to me, or no, let's see, I turned 18. Hell, I don't even know what year I was born. I turned 18 a year after 9/11 happened. So you got to think, we just went to war in Iraq or Afghanistan. So, you know, here I am registering for Selective Service, and I'd already taken an ASVAB the year before. So I'm thinking it's something other that's going to cause me to have to go to war or something. But, you know, I found out it was the law. And so I've always, you know, heard that 18 you had to do it if you were a male. But whatever this is come out now, it's going 18 to 25. So are they extending it? Do you not have to do it at 18?
This includes U.S. born and naturalized citizens, parolees.
So you can wait till 20 now to do it?
No, you have to do it at 18.
So why is it up to 25? What does that mean?
Well, I don't know.
I'm assuming that probably means somebody that becomes a naturalized citizen.
Naturalized
like
citizen.
Maybe somebody
or
that comes
it says
in.
illegal immigrant. So if you crossed over in this country and you're under 25, you have to register for it. So because it says undocumented immigrants, asylum seekers, refugees, and all males with visa of any kind.
Larry just snuck in here on us. He said, I am old-fashioned. If a man goes in on my daughter or granddaughter while they use the restroom, I'm going to jail or get an ass whipping. Absolutely. I'm going to throw that up there, because that's true. I got this massive spider crawling up my charger right now. So if one of us get bit.
We will now be Spider-Man.
Melina says, so does that mean some of the immigrants of military age coming across the border are actual UN troops? Could be. I mean, we don't know.
According to this, they have to register with our Selective Service if they are living here.
Could be anything coming across that border. You know, I mean, you could come from any country you want to right now and come across that border, and nobody knows any different. I mean, so it could be UN troops. It could be Australian troops, for all we know. I mean, it could be anybody. I mean, it's if I get bit and turn into Spider-Man.
I'm gonna be mad. I've already been there.
At least you all know. But I got this. I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not. It's right on the back there right now. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's a good size one. It's a crawling right here. It just went down on the charger there. There it is. You can see it coming. It's coming toward the camera right now. So, now, if that was a snake, I'd have broke my neck trying to get out of here. I'd have broke my neck trying to get out of here. What other these things did you send me, Matthew?
I just sent you a lot of stuff on inflation. I sent you this right here, which just showed you that the average monthly inflationary rate under Trump was 1.9, and the average monthly inflationary rate under Biden is 5.5. The only time that it's been close to dropping or declining was July of 2022. During the month of July, it stayed the same. It didn't change, didn't go up, didn't go down. It stayed the same. From that month on, it's been nothing but a continuous rise in inflation. You know, you got 9 point something percent inflationary rate. Since you Bidenomics, that's Bidenomics. Those are prices of products, food items that have changed since the inauguration.
Cereal at 38%. That's crazy.
A loaf of bread.
I believe that with the olive oil. 219%. That is true. I mean, it's almost $10 for a little small bottle of that.
You know, I saw a video on
cocoa is 345%.
Somebody sent me a video of the rise of prices of goods in Alaska. That's the inflationary rate. Okay. That shows you the Bidenomics. Build Back Better. Build Back Better has been nothing.
Build Back Better is still going up. Looks like.
We're not getting anything Built Back Better. We're, Americans, specifically the middle class, working class, being hit hard. As you can see, the month of July, it stayed the same. But everything else has been a perpetual rise per month. So I sent you a lot of stuff on that.
Yeah, because one of the things that they talk about almost on a daily basis, whether it's the press secretary on the press what does they call that? The White House press meeting briefing they do every day or whatever. Inflation's down. Everything, the economy is booming right now. Everybody's at work. People's got a lot of money in their pockets. And I'm like, where? Where are they seeing that? Are they in Antarctica or somewhere? Because where are they seeing this at? Because I know people around here don't. I mean, people around here is doing well to live paycheck to paycheck, and groceries. There's the issue. Groceries down there.
Now, that's the wrong thing. Does inflation mean that you're not going to go on vacation? It doesn't mean that everybody's not going to go on vacation. No, it doesn't mean it just means that some people might have to penny pinch, watch dimes being spent.
Instead of me going to Boston and watching the Red Sox play and sitting on the Green Monster, I went to the Lexington Legends and watched them. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, when inflation strikes, you go watch the Legends for $10. So, I mean, if you can't afford $1,000 to go to Boston and watch it.
But I think a lot of people think this, Mike. I think that a lot of people take it out of context and think that inflation means you're not going to live your life. You're still going to live your life, but you're going to do it at a greater cost, at greater expense. And there are certain things you're going to have. You have to buy gas to get to and from. You have to have food to survive and water. Let's talk about prices of goods. I watched a video on goods in Alaska. A 24-pack of water was $39 in Alaska. Now,
I was thinking about visiting soon, but I don't know if I will or not.
But there are certain places you can look this up. There are certain states where people are migrating to for various reasons. Tax rates, tax brackets. Texas, Florida. Those are states where the tax rates are lower, which means if you make a certain amount of money, you're going to bring home more, which allows you to spend more. Just because inflation doesn't mean that people are not spending. They still are spending. They're just cautiously watching the amount of money, and they're having to budget. Imagine somebody on a fixed budget having to live with the prices that you showed there going up. Bread, water, food, milk, eggs. You're getting a certain
orange juice, 260%.
You're getting a certain amount of money allotted to you per month, and that includes energy, your energy bill, your water bill. You could take into that if you got a car, you got to have insurance.
I paid $173 earlier today for my insurance, and that's for the RAV that's sitting out here and my truck, which my truck's only like $40 a month because it's paid off. But that tells you, what insurance is up to right now. I mean, I couldn't imagine being a young person, like a younger person being added onto insurance. I mean, it'd be wild to think. I was trying to get Larry to put me on his, but he won't put full coverage.
If you're 26 or younger, you could probably go with that.
Dadgone it. I tried.
But think about it. I mean, how does someone on a fixed income right now, and you got to think about the elderly and people that are disabled, SSI, certain amount of money given.
You only get a certain amount of money a month.
Our deficit right now this year, I want to say was we're at like $33 billion in debt. I saw something that said Social Security in this country, at the rate at which we're spending money, will be depleted by 2037. Most people that are young right now are working with hopes that they can put money back so that when they retire,
they will have that money.
They'll have that.
2037, there'll be a lot of
what
younger
are we?
people.
We're at 2024?
Yeah,
we're looking 13 years away. And that's a government projection. That's not me saying that. That's a government projection. By 2037, that the amount of money for Social Security in this country will be depleted.
I can see that.
That's wonderful. That means
that's scary.
Never gonna see his.
That's scary, my friend, because you're working. Okay, so what's that mean, Mike? What that means is people are working longer.
Well, instead of having, they want you to do. They want you to work till you're 90 years old, or to the day you just fall over.
Okay,
and then they don't have to pay you anything.
What's the retirement age right now? Most people retire 65. 65
is about
Social Security 67,
okay.
Right?
Well, I think you can draw Social Security, if I'm not mistaken, take a percentage cut at 62 years of age.
Come on, Larry, answer these questions.
Okay, 62, you can draw a percentage cut. 65, you draw.
Matthew, I think for us,
full max.
67, right?
Okay, but what I'm going to look at you tell you is there have been several presidents that have implemented policies to try to get the Social Security age from 65 to 70. That means you got to work till you're 70 years old, Mike. Hold up. The average life expectancy in the United States for men is 70. I want to say 75 or 76, and women live to be about 77.
You're going to retire and get maybe good 5 years out of it. But hell, you're 70 years old, so what are you going to do? The sad part is some people don't get that. No. Some people die.
We pull that from our checks if we're not going to see it. That's you're pulling something that should have been put in a savings account. You have pulled money from people that's never going to see it. You're pulling money currently from people's checks that they'll never see, and that's their money. They earn that money. So why didn't they put it into some account instead of spending it?
We're one of the most industrialized countries in the world, and our average life expectancy is 70, awesome. 76, 77. Canada is not as industrialized as us, and the average life expectancy in Canada is 80 years of age. Wow. I mean, think about that, Mike. I mean, some countries, they're outliving Americans. How is that? If we're the most industrialized country.
Probably because they cook with certain frying pans.
Well, could be.
We'll save that for another story. But, no, it's just crazy. It's crazy to think. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that. Well, you probably heard me earlier mention a little bit. She'll agree with me. Me and her's been looking at little side hustles and stuff. Just like I told her, I said, we're floating right now in the water. We're not completely sunk to the point where we've drowned, and we're still floating. But I'd kind of like to be above water a little bit to where, if you wanted to, go, yeah, when me and Dad went to Ohio this weekend, she went door dashing. And I know a lot of people's like, ain't that what the college students do? Well, probably. But it's also what the older people do, too, because when you ain't got nothing else. Larry says, I live check to check, 75 years old, still working, retired, and still can't make it. You get penalized if you go at 62.
That's what I said. I thought that. You take a penalty.
So, but I mean, there's you an example. Larry will be 75 in October. He's been retired for, I want to think maybe 8 years, 8 or 9, 10 years, somewhere through there. And he's never missed a day of work since. I mean, he retired And he didn't retire and come home like some people do. He retired, come home for a weekend, and went back to work Monday. You know, he never really stopped, and he still works every day. I mean, yeah, he's got a stent in there that needs to be removed, but we'll get that out in a week or so. But you know, he went back to work. I mean, he's still working. 75 years, almost 75 years old. Mike's what?
He's 70.
70 years old. Works every day. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's just to the point to where the people that, this is where I'm going to get hurt. The people that we look at that's like older people, you know, that you would think are retired, are the ones keeping the country alive right now. So, still the way it is. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Well, those people, to their credit and to their benefit, and I'm saying this as a great deal of respect for those people. They learn the value of hard work, and they know what hard work is. Hard work will get you ahead in times of struggle. And those people, you know, they've learned that if you do a hard day's worth of work, you get a hard day's pay, and they're willing to do that. We got to get this younger generation believing that. Right now, it's quite the opposite, and I don't mean that
right now.
And that's not a negative on these young kids. It's just
problem too.
Yeah, you said the magic word,
society.
You know, you said the magic word, society. I don't think it's
Subway,
as much. They are kids that we all know that graduated a couple of weeks ago that are already in a technical school this summer. They've already went on to do something with their lives. But there's also kids that graduated a couple of weeks ago that don't have no idea what they're going to do. They've never had to do anything. And if they let out on their own, I mean...
Well, they've made it
but
hard
it's not,
for kids to get jobs other than really fast food, and even some of your restaurants are particular because like Subway would not hire anyone under 18. You know, most of the time kids try to get a job
because they have to use the knife.
That work ethic
because you have to you have sharp objects. That's why. Yeah.
Or they should see the kids out with the tobacco knives.
Yeah. I was 11 years old and had to come home from school every day and cut tobacco in the fields and stuff with everybody's old spears and everything.
There. I mean, it's like.
So do you think a lot of that we've created that? We've watered it down to
we have not allowed people to grow and be independent. I think that they want people dependent. These kids are dependent and stuff.
Chris Wright says we work every day and still can't make it. And we know what he's talking about. I mean,
absolutely.
You know, it's crazy. And people's going to sit on here and say, oh, but it's like when you're already working pretty much full-time hours and you're looking for a side hustle, side job, part-time job, whatever it is, you know, something else to make a little extra money. And we talked to someone the other day that had 3 jobs. They're working 3 jobs. You know, I'm thinking, Lord, I dread having to take on a second one, but these people are taking on their 3rd. And I'm like, that's awful. But to listen to that administration talk, it's like, economy's booming right now. People are making a lot. Yeah, they're making a lot of money because they're working 3 jobs. You know, they're 24/7. They don't get to see life. They don't know what a vacation is. You know, they leave one job and go to the other one. I mean, I don't even know how they're sleeping at that point. The younger generation won't work, and then during the pandemic, it made them worse. They've all had their hands stuck in electronics and would probably lose their minds when the grid crashes.
I think
I've already said, if the grid goes down, I'm not going to none of the younger generation. You know, I'm going to find me a couple of old people that knows how to weld, or some old people that, you know, the family farmers or something other like that knows how to live. If I'm out and about, that's the kind of people I'm wanting to side with, is the people that's worked every single day, no matter what your jobs are, because you're going to be the ones, if you form like communities. You know, a lot of people like to, you know, you see in them survival shows where you form communities with each other. You know, you want people that's going to work and be able to help keep that community alive. So, yeah, I mean, these things ain't going to help you if all the lights are dark. You know, if there is no electricity, ain't no internet, you know, these things are useless. So, yeah, I get it. So, if there is anybody out there that got any side hustles, maybe some little part-time work besides DoorDash, because we're already doing that. It's all right. Can't give a lot of details. You know, I don't want my fortune to go away. But, you know, DoorDash is awful.
I wish they'd get it here in West Liberty.
Yeah, we tried to get it here in West Liberty. McDonald's has a sign down there, but they don't even have their machine turned on for it. So if you ordered something, you'd never get it delivered. You got anything, Matthew? What you got over there? What are you looking at a Canadian flag for?
Oh, I just
you moving to Canada?
I am moving to Canada.
Okay.
Justin Trudeau fan.
You love Justin Trudeau, huh?
No, I do not. No.
Put him right up there.
I think he's right there with Biden.
I think he is.
I'd say put them in the same room together. It'd be about the same. Let's see. We've got a few minutes. Let's see. High school is always hiring, Chris said. That's true.
I'm good.
I ain't gonna say a word.
I'm good.
I'm good. I ain't gonna say a word. I'm good. Let's see if I got anything over here.
Done that. I'm good.
What are they hiring for, Chris?
I'd say they need cafeteria ladies. I heard a bunch of them retired.
Am I a cafeteria lady?
Well, I should say
You're
cafeteria lady because you can serve food.
Well, how about you apply?
I might.
You'll never be as good as you'll never be another Wanda.
I know.
Well, as long as you don't lock yourself in the freezer or close it on you.
After the day I've had with Dr. Pepper and stuff, I'd be afraid to close myself in the freezer.
Trying to see if there's anything on here we can look at. I understand that, Melina, but at this point, I ain't got no choice. There ain't much of a choice on my end.
I know a lot of people that work at least 2 jobs, or they have side jobs, things like that, to try to make it happen.
Wanda said you might be better than what she was. Chris said there's custodial work starts at $13 an hour, so they got them a raise. That's a good thing.
Wanda's got big shoes to fill.
Nobody's going to fill those shoes. Nobody. I don't think nobody can fill Wanda's shoes. I don't know. I mean, I got some pretty big old shoes, but I think I can put both of Wanda's feet in one of those.
It's sad that.
What the heck is that?
It's sad that people would have to work 2 and 3 jobs to get by, though.
You
would think as highly advanced and industrialized as our country is, that between me and you, jobs are to be paying. What's happened is the standard of living has increased, but the average hourly wage has stayed consistently the same. That's what's hurt us.
Well, and this ain't no knock against anybody, but Chris is saying, this. What the heck was that? This custodial work starts out at $20. Yeah, $13 an hour. What I was going to say is I think the custodians at the school should be making $20 an hour. I mean, I've been there. I did it. I've been right there with Chris before. I don't think none of them should be making under $20 an hour. I mean, and the speaking of Wanda, the cooks there at the school too. I mean, they deserve more. I mean, when you were making $10 an hour starting out in there, you know as well as I do those cooks' jobs. What they go through and how that is. I mean, they're there before daylight getting breakfast ready for the school kids. It's about to roll in there, and then they're there to what after the afternoon at least.
After school
and later up in the day. They deserve it. I mean, that's and we wanted to set it here. I agree, they deserve more. I mean, that's just, and if you've never been in a custodial position, you don't realize. And Chris could tell you, because when he worked at Morgan Central, he was there by himself. He had an entire school to do by himself. Lord, there was me, Chris, Gay, Brandon, John. I mean, there was 4 or 5 of us, huh? Tiny. Yeah, there was 4 or 5 of us at the school most times over here, and it was still hard to keep up with everything. I could not imagine him being at that elementary school by himself. He's got that whole school to do. I mean, I don't think people would listen to me. I don't even know if it's even a possibility. But if I get elected to school board, that's definitely something I would want to look into, is trying to get raises for these people. I mean, that's just, I don't even know if that's even school board's job. I don't know, but it'd definitely be worth bringing the attention to somebody to try to get that figured out, because, they deserve more for the work that they do. And I can tell you, well, you were there seeing Chris and Gay and Brandon at graduation. They were soaked. It was absolutely pouring the rain, and that place was packed, and they were absolutely soaked. You know, so that's what I'm saying. They deserve more. I mean, that's I don't know. I'll not stop fighting for you, Chris. So, but it's awful though. And I mean, when you're making whatever you're making, and you're looking at possible a second or third job, I mean, it don't matter.
Well, think about it. Here, the problem is, and a lot of it is the way the tax system is set up. All right, and I know you got to pay taxes. There's not a problem
unless you work here.
Okay,
You know?
but think about it. Okay, you work 2 weeks, and you draw a paycheck, and you pay federal taxes and state taxes,
local taxes.
Okay, and then when you go to buy something, you pay taxes. You go to renew your car, you have to pay taxes, property taxes. You know, it seems like you can't get ahead because every time you turn around, it's an additional tax.
Then all year long, then at the end of the year, they send you your big W-2, and guess what you got to do then? Pay more taxes.
That's what's rough is that you do the work and stuff, and yet we're paying all this out to people who just keep grabbing, and it leaves you with very little to spend for your own life because you're too busy paying for everybody else's expenses that don't know how to manage government money. Which is why we have a Social Security system going broke. Again, they're taking Social Security out of our taxes that we're never going to see.
This is where it comes into play. 16 years.
No, I didn't
you work government.
I did work government, and all they do is
why
take money.
Are you not running for some type of office to fix the problems?
Politics. I hate politics.
Then why are you here? Me and Matthew can stay in here by ourselves.
I love hearing you guys talk politics, but no, I did.
Well, sometimes we get a little personal with it. You know, like this last 20 minutes, we've been talking about the personal part of life.
I did work for government for 16 years.
There it is, guys.
And that's my problem. And it's also, I will say this, it's my biggest problem. It's nothing personal with anything, but I feel like that sometimes, like our water district, I'll bring it up since you've already brought it up tonight, and boards that we have here and our fiscal court, everyone who is in a public service role should remember that your job is to offer public service for the minimum amount of people to the cost to the people. And I think we forget that we want to operate and act like we're Fortune 500 companies and that we're trying to have the most elite and the most best of stuff, and that we're spending it on ridiculous expenses rather than reminding ourselves we're not. If you want a Fortune 500 company, you need to take your money and invest it in your blood, sweat, and tears. You don't do that on the people's back. But they always pull money, and it's just like that. You have federal taxes was never supposed to have been a thing. Correct, Matthew? Your history. Was federal taxes ever supposed
prior
to
be prior to 1913? Whatever you made, you brought home. After 1913, the tax system came into effect. People start getting taxed. And since then, and like I said, I'm not down on the government. I'm not. I understand there's projects that have to be paid for. Prior to 1913, you basically made what you took home what you made, and the government still was able to run itself.
Well, I will say something against the government. You may not, but I'm going to say this. Federal taxes, your state held most of the responsibility, right? Federal was not supposed to have as much overreach as they have today. Kentucky would have been responsible for Kentucky and for Kentucky roads and things like that.
Well, I don't think people would have a problem paying taxes if you could pay a one-time tax and that be it.
That's what I've always said, a blanket sales tax.
You do that, and what happens? You know, okay, let's say you pay a 14% sales tax on,
and that's it.
On a new vehicle. You buy a new vehicle, Mike. You go down here to the local car dealership and you buy a new vehicle, and they say, okay, there's a 14% sales tax added on top to the initial value of that car. You pay it, but you don't have to renew your license every year. People would be willing to do that. Same thing with a house.
You just paid for yours recently. Didn't you just recently have to go?
I have to
pay your tax. You ain't done
$50.
Mine was $1,900 when I bought that thing out there. Remember, they sent me a check, and I had a little bit of extra money in my pocket because I had to pay for something else.
You have to pay an amount every year. So that's the thing, is that federal tax was never supposed to thing. In Kentucky state itself,
do you really own anything in this state?
No.
So no, and the thing is,
because if you don't pay it or you don't pay your monthly payment, they come and get it.
Matthew, you mow yards. You have to charge taxes now. You didn't have to charge. You didn't have to.
Or do you? You charge taxes? So I know
labor.
She had said that the other day, and I'm like, are you serious?
Labor was never you didn't charge taxes on labor because guess what? At the end of the year, you're going to tell them how much money you made on labor and you pay your taxes, right?
That's crazy.
Now you're paying taxes on labor because Kentucky State is supposed to do away with their payroll tax. They're not supposed to have a Kentucky State payroll tax, but they jumped the gun. They said, we're going to reduce this every year, 0.5% or whatever percentage. But we're going to go ahead and start taxing services. So we're pulling in more revenue before this Kentucky State payroll tax starts. Even though you'll have to account for any money you made on that labor and pay again on it if you're in a certain tax bracket.
Yeah.
We're overtaxed, and where are we? Where do we get the money? Where does the money come back to the people? They send it to you.
Okay, here's the problem. When you spend frivolously on things that don't need to be spent on, and I'm not saying that you don't help people. When people are in crisis, you help people. You help your own people.
Right.
We spend too much money. Okay, give you an example. Okay, you were talking about Biden, and you said that Biden is starting to try to fulfill some of the promises that he made early in his administration. Okay, we've got a war going on between Israel and the Palestinians. Got some conflict there. Okay, all right. Biden had came out and said that he proposed a peace deal. Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister, president of Israel, basically said he would not agree to a ceasefire unless they could absolutely obliterate and abolish Hamas. Not going to happen. Because, I mean, that's not creating peace.
Right.
Okay, so you've got Biden came forth with a proposal to try to create peace. In that proposal, it accounts for an enormous amount of spending on our part to Israel. More spending. Rebuilding Gaza. Well, there comes a point where...
Why are we responsible for that?
That's my question. Why?
We did Iraq, and what return have we gotten on that? I mean, investing in something is only smart if you're getting a return on it. What return are we getting?
That's a good question. Okay, here it is. A 3-phase proposal for a durable peace in the Middle East. Phase 1, listen to this. A complete ceasefire. Withdrawal of Israeli forces from populated areas in Gaza. Release of some hostages and some remains of hostages. Palestinian civilians can return to their homes in Gaza. Now listen to the last stipulation of proposal number 1, phase 1. A surge in humanitarian aid. Okay, we're going to spend more money. More money that we don't what? That we don't have.
We don't have. We're
okay,
already,
phase 2.
Trillions of dollars in debt.
$33 trillion. Okay, phase 2. A permanent end to hostilities. Exchange for the release of remaining living hostages. Israeli forces withdraw from Gaza. Phase 3. Major reconstruction plans for Gaza. Reconstruction means if you're going to rebuild, you got to do what? You've got to come up with economic fees and expenses to do that. Final remains of hostages are returned to their families. All that's saying is we're just going to spend more money over there. We're going to give and give and give and give and give.
And at what point? What will be our return?
At what point do you open your eyes and say, this is not our war. This is not our conflict.
It's not our country.
We need to stay out of this. Yes, we don't want to see innocent people die. Let's try to sit down and let's try to mediate this. But that doesn't mean that we give them money to rebuild their country. How many times are we going to rebuild these places?
Right.
We rebuilt Europe after World War I. We rebuilt Europe after World War II. We have spent money rebuilding a lot of those countries since the Cold War era. We're still rebuilding those people. We're fitting the bill for the World Health Organization for a lot of these people. They're not even paying their part. Donald Trump says, hey, you're going to fit your end of the bill, and everybody in the world is mad at the man. Okay? Me and you go to dinner as friends.
I hope we
Okay,
do.
one night you might buy, one night I might buy, one night we might want,
Right.
we might share the
Right.
expenses together. But you're not going to go.
When did it become our responsibility to rebuild and what's our rate of return? My thing is you're taking American people. This is what I'm talking about on public service and government. You're taking American people's money. It's not your money. It's money that the American
They think it's their money.
That's right. And it's not. It's not their money. It's the American people's money. It's their money. What return of investment are you giving American people? You can't even help our homeless vets. You can't help our flood victims and stuff. When we ask for money, we get this ridiculous protocol. Like you have to carry
$400 million in the last proposal. $89 million for money appropriations for Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. $89 billion. $89 billion. Let me get my money right here. $400 million of it was to ensure security border patrol for Israel. But yet, not a single dime was spent on our border.
So, and here's the thing too. When you send it to Ukraine, does it go back into our economic system? It does not.
There's no accountability. Right now, you don't know where it goes.
Right
Who
now,
gets it? Who spends it? What they spend it on.
I will tell you that the checks
I'm thinking it goes into an account, just not
the stimulus checks that they gave us. At least did go back into American economy. This money that they're sending overseas, we will never see in our economy.
No, because they're not going to send it back.
No,
it's not like in 10 years Ukraine's going to send us billions of dollars, to do stuff.
No, has Iraq returned any investment on that? We were 20 years there. Have we seen any return on investment there? Nothing.
Hell, Afghanistan, we left all of our military equipment over there. Remember that?
$85 billion.
So left it just sitting over there. Okay, and half the people that was there. If you went on them planes,
if you remember the video that we had of
I hate taxes.
Do you remember the video that we showed on this program where there was a Afghani citizen flying what was it?
It was a
helicopter.
Helicopter, I think. Yeah.
Didn't even know how to fly that thing.
They're over there, and they're in them American tanks and everything in the world. They're running around over there, running into walls and stuff with each other.
Then you have Zelensky says, "American people, you guys don't want to send money to us. You're going to have to send your children, your sons, and your daughters." And it's like, we want to
get the video. I see them
keep sending the money. No.
Everybody knocks out now.
I sent you another one. Did you get that one?
Yeah, I don't have it on here though. I got it.
But as long as we keep voting and putting,
so we are a cash cow.
We are the cash cow for everyone, and they use our money off the backs.
I've said it. I'll go back and say it again. I'm a broken record. They ought to just give every American $1 million and say, "Here, be done with it."
That's right.
And it would still not be as much as they've sent over there.
I've said that how many times on this program?
Right. You're right. And if you gave every American the $1 million, you still wouldn't have spent as much money as what's been sent there.
I agree with that.
And every American would be living fairly decent with $1 million. And then you would spend it back into the economy.
That's
you would pay your vehicles and maybe your homes and stuff off.
And your inflationary rate would do what?
Sink.
It would come down.
Student loans that they're forgiving right now, you could pay them off with that money. There you go. You could eliminate all your debts, and then you could buy something else. And then
the problem is, I don't know, and I say this, and this may sound crazy. The way they spend, do they want to eliminate debt or do they want to generate and create debt? You would think your basic practice would be you want a balanced budget. You want a balanced budget where you're spending, you're actually taking in more money. You're generating more revenue than you're spending. That's a surplus.
I think the agenda is something else than that, because these people are supposed to be with degrees out the wazoo. They're supposed to be smart, but yet they don't do things that generate economic advantage in our own economy. They do nothing but cripple us. And so you have to think what is their long-term agenda on it, because they're not playing it. That's why they hate Donald Trump. Say what you want to about Donald Trump, but he knows investment. He knows return on investment. He knows how to do business.
But Orange Man bad.
Yeah, well, he's bad for people.
Orange Man hurt your feelings. Orange Man hurt your feelings.
Chris said they don't want us to make it. They want us to depend on them. There you go. Yeah, that's right.
I do believe that.
That's
I think
right.
that's
Orange Man bad.
Deb says that all the time. The government wants you to rely on them. They want people to,
So if you're
their
relying
assistance.
on the government, are you a true republic, democracy, or are you a
Socialism.
socialistic system?
You're
Working your
socialist.
way
Okay,
into communism.
capitalism and free market is you allow the market to regulate itself. We have government interference, government control, government regulations, and that in itself stimulates and manipulates markets for goods. You know that.
Well, they'll hold goods, they'll make shortages that aren't there to try to do the economy the way they want to. Inflation increases. They like war. War creates revenue for your elite, not for your middle class. I know someone argued, I saw him arguing with Charlie Kirk about which party is really for middle class. And they were saying Democratic Party was for middle class. And Charlie Kirk's like, all your rich people are Democrats. And he said, with the exception of Elon Musk, he said George Soros, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates,
and Musk himself's more independent. He's kind of in between.
I would probably tell you that I'm probably more independent too. I'm probably more libertarian. I don't think we have any business being overseas and putting the people's money there instead of helping our own people. I think you have to. Would you like to help people? Would you go down here to bank, commercial bank, Bank of the Mountains, borrow money to help everyone else and generate all this debt for yourself and not be able to pay it off? You can't. They won't let you. They're going to check your credit score. What is America's credit score? We're $33 billion or $1 trillion in debt. What's our credit
score? And just keep printing it.
We just keep printing it.
But you can't get a credit card down here, at the local.
Speaking of which,
little thing.
Melina asked about HB 2435. Do you know it?
You have to refresh my memory.
Michael, I sent it to you.
Wow.
Something about the weight in gold that you're I don't know. She asked it twice. So it's a bill that's up supposedly, and it says this bill requires the Department of the Treasury to define the Federal Reserve note dollar in terms of fixed weight of gold.
Basically saying that the currency would be valued in gold.
That's what it sounds like.
It was that way before 1913. And what happened? Anytime you spent, you only could spend as much money as you had in your.
That's what, 1912?
They sunk the Titanic in every supporter.
Is that 1912, 1911?
1912,
wasn't it, maybe?
It's April of 1912, 1913, 14, something like that.
Something like that.
It's 12. I'm sorry, 12. Yeah, you're right. 12.
Speaking of that, I just saw this yesterday. Another millionaire is taking a submersible to the Titanic. Are you serious? You just had these people get blown up or whatever there a year or so ago, and I saw just yesterday another millionaire.
Is this one controlled with a Game Boy controller?
Hell if I know, but
Nintendo controller.
But said that this one's going to take another trip down there, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
I think he wanted to show it how safe it was. Am I right? And then I see something like that.
No.
What was the name of the company that did that?
Good luck to him. OceanGate.
OceanGate
was the one that last year. Yeah. I don't know if this is the same bunch or not. Probably. I think they're all dead. But I don't know.
Anytime in history anybody has proposed anything with the idea of circumventing the Federal Reserve, look and see what's happened to them. Anytime somebody's come up with an initiative to attack that system, look and see what's happened to them.
You're right. So when do you think we can do this again?
I don't know. Anytime you want to, my friend.
Anytime. I'll see you tomorrow night, buddy. Right here. Say 10:30 tomorrow night. So
10:30. I'm old, son.
Well, you said anytime. So
I'm in the bed most
I ain't gonna promise you I'll be here either. We might be like mine and your FaceTime call the other night. We'll be laying there with our heads laying over talking to each other. Like, okay.
Oh, recommend that movie for people.
Oh, Matthew recommended a movie the other night called Dark Waters. Now, when he first said it, I thought it was a movie about sharks. I'm like, what in the world? I mean, is he not like Jaws? But it's not what you think it is. It's actually based out of Parkersburg, West Virginia. The company is called DuPont. And it's from the 1970s all the way up to current. But the movie, I think, goes all the way up to like 2013. It portrays, and it shows about how things got into the drinking water and animals, and people started getting sick and things. It's a really good movie. It's based on a true event, true story. You can even find documentaries and stuff online about the real man that's portrayed in the movie. And there's actually a couple of real people that are real people from that area that have parts in the movie. So I mean that's pretty cool too. But yeah, it's called.
Shows how big government and big business are together.
It's called Dark Waters. Was it on Netflix? Is that where you said you watched?
I can't remember when I watched it.
But I mean,
probably Netflix. Yeah.
But I mean, you can probably find it on most of your search streams. But
might be able to find it on YouTube.
Heard it, yeah.
It's very comparable to the movie Aaron Brockovich.
Yep.
Yeah,
very
good. It's a good movie.
Yes.
Very good.
It's a good movie.
Very good movie.
We get a little gun shy sometimes when people recommend movies to us.
Not recommend Civil War.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the movie Civil War that just recently come out, I waited from about November of last year when I first started seeing it. I thought it was December of last year when I first started seeing the previews. Could not wait to April. It came out in April. I didn't get to see it in theaters, but I recently watched it. And when it first came out, I didn't get to see it, but I recently watched it. And I think it was the worst 2 hours of my life. So if you haven't seen it yet, I would recommend watching Dark Waters. But I don't know. Just whenever you want to do it again, we'll
holler at me.
We'll get something set up.
We'll do it next week.
Next week. Hopefully we'll get outside. I wanted us to be outside tonight, but
if we would have been outside,
we would have been outside tonight.
Might not have been here.
We wouldn't have been
here. That was
a
strong wind.
Because Matthew pulled in about 10 minutes before he come in the building here, and I heard the awfulest wind, and I tried to open the back door here, and it about blew out of my hand. So I went to check on him, and he sat there like this. I mean, there might be a tree limb laying out here for all I know, because, I mean, that was some strong winds. That's the strongest I've seen in a while. But hopefully we're going to be outside pretty soon and, be enjoying some of the nice weather if it ever quit raining like you mentioned earlier. But, yeah, we may give it a shot next week, see where we can go with it. I mean, as much stuff's happening right now, and by the time next week rolls around, there could be something going on.
There'll be something major happen.
But, all right, guys, we appreciate everybody who's tuned in tonight and chatted with us or who's just watched and hasn't chatted with us. We appreciate all of you. Come in and see us, shoot us messages on Facebook, whatever you want to do. We'll chat with you and everything. But until next time, we look forward to seeing everybody out in the public and talking to you online. Take care. Have a good